Adolf Hitler, the central figure in the rise of Nazism, was actually born in Austria in 1889. He had a troubled childhood, and after failing to establish himself as an artist in Vienna, he moved to Munich, Germany in 1913. Hitler was a soldier during World War I, and it was in the aftermath of the war that he became involved in politics. Conditions for Germans were dire after World War I. It has been discussed in part 1 of the video, which has been linked in the description below. Let us begin from 1919. The Weimar Republic, officially known as the German Reich, was established in 1919 following the abdication of the German Emperor and the end of World War I. It was named after the city of Weimar, where the new constitution was drafted. The Republic was Germany's first experiment with democracy, and it aimed to create a more inclusive and democratic government after the autocratic rule of the German Empire. However, it faced many challenges, many of which stemmed from the devastating consequences of World War I and the Treaty of Versailles. Some of them are economic crisis. Germany was burdened with massive war reparations and crippling debt due to the Treaty of Versailles. Hyperinflation, where the value of money decreased rapidly, left many Germans struggling to afford basic necessities. Political divisions. The Weimar Republic was plagued by political divisions. Multiple political parties made it difficult to form stable governments. Extremist parties on both the left, such as the Communists, and the right, including the Nazi Party, sought to undermine the democratic system. Social unrest. Economic hardship and political instability led to social unrest. Protests, strikes, and even attempted revolutions became relatively common in this period. Foreign interference. The presence of foreign troops in Germany, especially in the Ruhr region, added to the humiliation and challenges the Weimar Republic faced. Even with all these hurdles, there was a constitution of the Weimar Republic, adopted in 1919, established the basic framework of the new democratic government. Some key features included separation of powers. Like many modern democracies, the Weimar Constitution separated powers among the executive or president, legislative or Reichstag, and judicial branches. Proportional representation. This electoral system aimed to provide fair representation to various political parties in the Reichstag, but it often resulted in coalition governments that struggled to make decisive decisions. Bill of Rights. The Constitution included a Bill of Rights guaranteeing civil liberties and individual freedoms, which was a significant step forward for Germany. The Weimar Republic saw a multitude of political parties, which often led to coalition governments. These coalitions were formed by parties working together to secure a majority in the Reichstag. However, they frequently faced internal strife, making it difficult to pass legislation and govern effectively. But times were really bad for Germany. One of the most infamous aspects of the Weimar Republic was hyperinflation. This occurred due to a combination of factors, including war debt, economic mismanagement, and the printing of excessive amounts of money. The consequences were dire for the German population, as the value of money plummeted, and people had to carry wheelbarrows full of currency to buy everyday goods. Amongst all this turmoil after World War I, Hitler returned to Munich, Germany. In 1919, he joined a small nationalist political group called the German Workers' Party, DAP. At this point, the party had only about 40 members. This would be a pivotal moment in Hitler's life, as he would go on to reshape the party into the National Socialist German Workers' Party, or NSDAP, or the Nazi Party. Hitler's charismatic leadership played a pivotal role in the Nazi Party's growth. His passionate speeches and magnetic personality helped him connect with disenchanted and unemployed Germans who were frustrated with the Weimar Republic's inability to address economic and political challenges. Hitler's vision for Germany, which combined extreme nationalism with anti-Semitic and anti-communist rhetoric, found resonance among many. One of the earliest and most significant events in the Nazi Party's history during the 1920s was the Beer Hall Putsch of 1923. This was a failed coup attempt in Munich, where Hitler and the Nazis sought to overthrow the Weimar government. The putsch was quickly put down, and Hitler was arrested and sentenced to prison. While in prison, Hitler used his time to write his autobiography and political manifesto, Mein Kampf, which means My Struggle. In this book, he outlined his personal history, his beliefs, and his vision for Germany's future. It became a foundational text for Nazi ideology and provided a clear roadmap for the party's goals and strategies. First was Aryan supremacy. The Nazis promoted the idea of Aryan racial superiority, which involved the belief that the Aryan race was superior to all others. Anti-Semitism. The Nazis propagated anti-Semitic views, blaming Jews for various societal problems and advocating their persecution. Anti-Communism. The Nazis were strongly opposed to communism and saw it as a significant threat to Germany and Western civilization. Expansionist foreign policy. Similar to present-day China, Hitler envisioned a greater Germany that included territories lost after World War I, and he aimed to expand eastward. Authoritarian rule. The Nazis promoted a totalitarian regime in which the state held ultimate authority, and individual freedoms were severely limited. The Nazi Party underwent a reorganization during Hitler's imprisonment. While in Landsberg prison, Hitler was able to maintain contact with loyal supporters, and the Nazi Party re-emerged as a more organized and determined political force. The party leadership used this period to reflect on their strategies and solidify their commitment to achieving power. After his release from prison, Hitler and the Nazi Party adopted a more strategic and legally focused approach to gain political influence. They recognized the need to participate in the democratic processes of the Weimar Republic, including elections and forming coalitions. The party's participation in elections began to yield results. In the 1924 Reichstag elections, they won 32 seats, making them a significant force in the legislature. This electoral success marked the beginning of the party's parliamentary presence. The Nazis recognized the importance of grassroots support, and they established a formidable paramilitary organization known as the Sturmabteilung, or Brown Shirts. The SA engaged in violent clashes with political opponents and intimidated potential rivals. This combination of electoral success and paramilitary muscle helped solidify the Nazi Party's influence. Meanwhile, throughout the 1920s, the Weimar Republic faced numerous challenges, including economic turmoil, political instability, and social unrest. Many Germans were disillusioned with the government's inability to address their concerns. This environment allowed extremist groups like the Nazis to gain traction and exploit the existing dissatisfaction. The appointment of Adolf Hitler as Chancellor of Germany in 1933 marked a turning point in the history of the Weimar Republic and set in motion the events that led to the establishment of a totalitarian regime. The Nazi Party had been steadily gaining electoral support during the early 1930s. In the July 1932 Reichstag elections, the Nazis emerged as the largest party in the legislature, securing 37.4% of the popular vote. However, no single party held an outright majority, which led to unstable coalition governments. Amid this political turbulence, conservative politicians and influential industrialists who were wary of the growing strength of leftist and communist movements began to consider Hitler as a potential ally. They believed they could control and influence him. In January 1933, after a series of backroom negotiations and political maneuvering, German President Paul von Hindenburg appointed Adolf as Chancellor of Germany. This appointment was a significant concession by conservatives who believed that by bringing Hitler into the government, they could stabilize the political situation and mitigate the influence of more radical elements. Hitler's appointment as Chancellor was a crucial step in his path to power, but it was not the result of a popular vote. It was a calculated move by political elites who underestimated the extent to which Hitler and the Nazis would later consolidate power and undermine democracy. Make sure to subscribe to never miss any update. Listen to our episodes multiple times to get the events by heart. Shortly after his appointment, in February 1933, a pivotal event occurred that further contributed to Hitler's consolidation of power. The Reichstag, the German parliament building, was set on fire. The Nazis claimed that this was part of a communist plot to overthrow the government. In the wake of the Reichstag fire, President Hindenburg signed a decree which suspended civil liberties and allowed the Nazis to suppress political opposition. A decree is an official order given by a government. With the Reichstag fire decree in place, Hitler sought to secure his power further. In March 1933, he proposed the Enabling Act to the Reichstag. This act granted Hitler and his cabinet the authority to enact laws without the Reichstag's consent. It effectively made him a dictator. The Enabling Act was passed with the support of the Nazis and their conservative allies. The passage of the Enabling Act marked the end of the Weimar Republic as a democratic government. Hitler's appointment as chancellor, combined with the sweeping powers granted by the Enabling Act, allowed the Nazi regime to establish totalitarian control over Germany. The Weimar Republic's democratic institutions and freedoms were systematically dismantled. After this, they moved aggressively to eliminate political opposition. Opposing parties were banned or dissolved, trade unions were suppressed, and political opponents, including communists and socialists, were arrested and imprisoned. The concentration of power in the hands of the Nazi Party was swift and complete. The Gestapo, or Geheime Staatspolizei, or the Secret State Police, was established in 1933. This brutal and secretive police force played a critical role in suppressing dissent, investigating political opponents, and maintaining the Nazi regime's grip on power. Moving forward, the Nazis implemented a series of anti-Semitic laws, beginning with the Reich Citizenship Law and the Nuremberg Laws of 1935. These laws deprived Jews of their citizenship and imposed severe restrictions on their rights, leading to the systematic persecution of Jewish individuals and businesses. Prior to this, in 1934, Hitler ordered the Night of the Long Knives, a purge that targeted internal Nazi party dissidents and political rivals. Prominent figures like Ernst Röhm and others were executed. This event served to solidify Hitler's authority within the Nazi Party and eliminate potential threats to his leadership. Then came the Führerprinzip. The Führerprinzip, or leader principle, was a key tenet of the ideology and governance. It emphasized absolute loyalty to Adolf Hitler as the leader, with all authority and decision-making concentrated in his hands. This principle was essential to maintaining the authoritarian and centralized nature of the Nazi regime. They also made extensive use of propaganda to control public opinion and promote the ideology of the party. The Ministry of Public Enlightenment and Propaganda, headed by Joseph Goebbels, played a significant role in shaping public perceptions. Under the leadership of Hjalmar Schacht, the Reich Minister of Economics, the Nazi regime implemented a series of economic policies, including public works programs and job creation initiatives. These measures were aimed at alleviating unemployment and boosting the German economy. While they initially appeared successful, they were also part of a broader militarization effort leading to rearmament. As a result, in 1936, Adolf Hitler ordered the reoccupation of the Rhineland, a demilitarized zone under the terms of the Treaty of Versailles. This move was a significant risk, as it violated the treaty and could have led to military intervention by France and Britain. However, the Western powers did not act, and Hitler's confidence grew. Then, in 1938, Germany annexed Austria, a move known as the Anschluss. This violated the Treaty of Versailles and the Treaty of Saint-Germain, which had specifically prohibited the union of Austria and Germany. The international response was mild, and the annexation proceeded without major opposition. In the same year, the Munich Agreement was signed, allowing Germany to annex the Sudetenland, a region of Czechoslovakia with a significant German-speaking population. The agreement was brokered by Britain and France, and, while an attempt to appease Hitler and avoid war, it marked a major concession to Nazi expansionism. But it acted as petrol being added to fire. Following the Munich Agreement, the disintegration of Czechoslovakia accelerated. Germany occupied the Sudetenland, and Hungary and Poland seized other regions. This dismantling of Czechoslovakia was another example of appeasement and contributed to the fragmentation of Central Europe. Laying the groundwork, in August 1939, Germany and the Soviet Union, under the leadership of Joseph Stalin, signed the Molotov-Ribbentrop Pact. This non-aggression pact included a secret protocol that divided Eastern Europe into spheres of influence. The pact shocked the world and paved the way for final Nazi aggression. This pact cleared the path for Hitler to invade Poland on September 1, 1939. This invasion led Britain and France to declare war on Germany, officially marking the beginning of World War II. The invasion of Poland was a brutal and unprovoked attack that demonstrated the depths of Nazi aggression. We shall look into the details of how World War II played out for Hitler in the next video. Make sure to subscribe to never miss any episode